So I hope everyone had a good break, good lunch, good salat. Can anyone hear me? Hear me clearly? Okay, that's good. All right. Alhamdulillah. Okay, prior to getting to the third session here, first off I want to tell you what the third session is going to be about. I'm going to be going over the initial arguments that I gave you from the atheist side, and we're going to talk about them in a critical manner. Okay, we're going to talk about them in a refutation-like manner. Okay, so I'm going to give you answers, how to answer these arguments in a very sufficient way. Secondly, after that, we're going to get into the arguments regarding science or scientific miracles in the Quran, see if they're valid after we have just discussed the nature of science, and some of the ayahs in the Quran that mention supposedly scientific miracles. Prior to that, however, I thought that I might give you a little bit more background as to my journey, I guess, to Islam, since I think that would be beneficial for today's lecture. I told you earlier that I've been studying philosophy for the past 6 years, 7 years. Prior to this, in 2008, I had converted to Islam, 2008, so I've been Muslim for about, 7 years now? It seems like it's been much longer than that, alhamdulillah. But I remember some of the intellectual arguments that made me into a Muslim. And I remember some of the emotional things that made me into a Muslim. But I wanted to share with you some of the intellectual ones. And before this, I was a Christian. And at the time when I was studying philosophy, it helped me to be critical of myself and my beliefs. So I was constantly questioning myself to see whether or not what I believed was true. So I began to lose interest in Christianity as an intellectual belief, because there were a lot of things in Christianity that I found to be contradictory and problematic, and I will discuss with you those in a moment. But prior to that, I studied Buddhism, I studied Taoism, I studied Judaism, I studied Hinduism, I studied all sorts of beliefs, and none of them appealed to me at all. And to be honest with you, I didn't study Islam. I didn't study Islam because in the United States, as you happen to know, it's not exactly a good thing if you convert to Islam in the community, because there's a lot of Islamophobia in the United States. Okay, it's very difficult to live a normal life there as a Muslim, which I learned the hard way as well. Now, so I stayed away from Islam as a result of that, until I met a friend of mine in philosophy course. He happened to be a Shia, go figure, and we talked philosophy here and there, and he invited me to his masjid, so I went there, and I at the time I didn't know the difference between Shia and Sunni and things like this, so I talked to the Imam. We started discussing, started debating, and he was good. He's really good. I don't know what they do in Iran, but they know their philosophy really well. So we got at it for a while, for 6 months. 6 months I was talking to him, right, going back and forth to the masjid. And I was interested, because these guys were smart, you know. And one day he told me, he said to me, well, my name wasn't Ali, or Asadullah back then, so I'm not going to tell you my name, but he said to me, I don't care if you become Shia or Sunni. I just want you to become Muslim. So he told me, if you want to become Sunni, you go become Sunni, it's okay. So, and then I started studying the difference between Shia and Sunni, so I became Sunni. Okay, I actually still know him, and I visit him from time to time when I go back to the States. So we have little discussions here and there. This time about Shia and Sunni, not about Christianity and Islam. So, but I remember during that time, one argument that he threw at me, and it was very difficult to refute. And this is the time that I realized that there's something interesting about this. There's something about this religion that makes people like this. They can think this way, They have this sort of openness, this ability to be critical. It's very difficult to find in other faiths. And there's something about this religion that makes them so devout, and I'm talking about Muslims in general, that not only are they intellectual in many degrees, in their education and the way they live their life, but the way they live is like they actually live their religion. In Christianity, you don't live your religion. Christianity, like I said earlier, you live like any other else. You believe Jesus died, and that's it. You go to church, you sing or something, and then you go, and there's nothing really connecting you in that sense. So Islam offered both to me an intellectual, remedy, and at the same time it offered a lifestyle remedy. It offered a way of living, a real religion, as a real religion should. So I told you I was going to tell you the intellectual argument. I've been using this against Christians since day one, since I've learned it, and it works very well. So maybe I'll teach you right now, and you can use it against your friends who are Christian, if you have any, or just anybody you're looking to make dawah to, who's in the Christian community. So here's how philosophy has helped me to be critical, and here's how it's going to help you. Okay, I don't need the board, I don't think, right? No. So let's here's the argument. Premise one, remember premises? Okay, premise one, all right. God is perfect, right? God is perfect. Everyone believes this. Christians believe this as well, but for them, perfection also means the inability to change. I believe it's for us as well. Christians believe in the immutability, meaning the unchangeability of God. All right? So God cannot change. All right? Okay, so we got that down. So God is perfect. Premise two, God sacrificed his only son to save you. That's the Christian belief, right? God sacrificed Jesus, his only son, to save mankind. Right? Okay. Premise three. Sacrifice, the word sacrifice means to lose something. Uh-oh. You see where I'm going? Okay. So what happens when you lose something?
You don't get it back.
Well, you don't. It's not about not getting it back, but something. What happens? What happens when you lose something? Look at the first premise. What was the first premise? What does perfection mean?
Complete change.
Doesn't change, right? So when you lose something, what happens? You change.
So you contradict.
Premise four, a loss implies change. Therefore, the Christian God is not perfect. Done. That's it. No need to talk about Jesus being divine or anything like that. It's done. So, okay. So that's always been a very effective argument. I've never seen any Christians object to it in a very good way. So,
I missed it.
you missed it? Too bad. So, now that we've discussed that argument, should we move on, or should I continue talking about my conversion story? Go ahead. Woo. All right. So, okay, so I'll continue for a little longer than that. I eventually became convinced of Islam, but I didn't convert until 6 months after that. And the reason why is because I was scared. I was terrified. Because when you convert to Islam in the United States, something happens to you. You are seen as enemy number one by just about everyone, even the Muslims. So they question, like, is he with us, or is he like the CIA or something? They do that. I'm serious. And then you go into the masjid, and it's like, there's a white guy. No, but there is actually a lot of racism, unfortunately, in the United States. It's funny, especially with marriage, a lot of the convert brothers, they like to joke, they go to the masjid when they convert, and all the brothers are hugging them like, Alhamdulillah, mashallah, you've converted, you're welcome to my house, I feed you, you can be like my son, can I marry your daughter? She will never marry a guri. Never marry a white man, right? So they get like, it's very interesting in that respect. So, on one hand, but there's positive experiences too, don't get me wrong. I learned how to withstand Indian food very quickly, because when I converted